Welcome to Red Hot Chili. This is your host, Dr. John Coben. Here in late May, it's already starting to turn cool again, just a month away from the shortest day of the year. And today's show is going to feature the headlines of what's going on in Chile. There's a lot going on. We've got stuff dealing with the Bolivians. We've got major news about education policy, as well as news about the tax reform, which should be quite scary for all immigrants coming in. Not totally scary, but the point is I'm not going to pull any punches. I praise and laud Chile a lot, but there's some things that are going on right now which are not okay. And you're going to hear about them today on today's show. So it's an important show to listen to. It's not a deal killer by any means or a deal breaker, but it's something that you need to be aware of, and it's something that libertarians need to be ready to fight against when they get here. Because this kind of foolishness that we're seeing from socialists just has to be challenged without a doubt. Also going to talk a little about some interesting features I found out about the Valparaíso Fire Department, which is kind of interesting. There's a number of other smaller items, not the least of which is this Jeff Berwick rumor about Gulf's Chile. And I'll be giving you a Freedom Orchard update as well. You can send in your questions and comments to chiliadvisorygroup@gmail.com. That's chiliadvisorygroup@gmail.com. And make sure you check out the blog, which is escapeamericanow.info, for all the resources we have there and keeping up to date with the latest and greatest stuff going on in Chile. This is your source for finding out about Chile. You're not going to get any better than this show, folks. If you want to really know about what happens in this country and you're really planning to come here, you should be listening every week and sharing it with others. We'll be right back after this.
Viva Chile, viva Chile, a Chile quiero, chileno yo soy.
Welcome again to Red Hot Chili. This is your host, Dr. John Coben. Glad you've joined us today. As always, glad for the faithful listenership and the growing listenership to some extent as we go down this road to thinking about what our futures might be and where we might be best suited to live to avoid the pitfalls. It's like the proverb says in the Bible, a prudent man foresees evil and hides himself. And that's what you should be doing, whether you're a Christian or not. As a libertarian right now, you should be able to foresee the evil that's coming around you. That doesn't get any better, folks. I mean, it gets more intense every day in the Northern Hemisphere. Not that we're not having our own troubles here in Chile, as you'll be hearing about later, but still far worse. If you have any doubt, just read the blog entry I put up at escapeamericanow.info with is the grass greener on the other side, with 55 reasons, compelling enough reasons that any one of them should make you want to leave, and to have 55 of them, then you really should want to go. But at any rate, there is so much evil going on, and so much of it's getting worse that you need to be making an exit plan to foresee the evil and hide yourself. First thing you got to do is get your assets offshore. Well, actually, before that, you need to get a passport. If you don't have a passport, you need to get one. Get your assets offshore. Yeah, if you can start getting a second passport from another country, great. Could be expensive, depends on your ethnic background and a lot of other things, whether or not that will be easy or not. Or at least try to plan to find out how you can do it here in Chile. We have a residency program, $3,000, and we take care of everything for you. We, for the first person at least, and dependents and stuff are a little bit extra. But we'll take you through the initial visa process of what's called the temporary visa. We'll hold your hand all the way through that and get you the documents you need, help you get the documents you need, I should say, and we'll take you through permanent residency. And then we'll even help you all the way through citizenship if you're going to be in Chile for at least 5 years. So by all means, take those steps. Make yourself ready that you can get out at a moment's notice, or even start getting 1 foot out the door right now if it's not out already. Makes no sense to be in the condition you are and just complacently stay there. That's a good word is fatuous. And what does fatuous mean? Well, it effectively means complacently stupid. And those that watch the boxcars being built or even being loaded and just are complacently stupid, fatuous, and just sit around and watch it, are really making a big mistake, to say the least. So get ready to go. Now, in the future, after we get Freedom Orchard launched and going, we want to make it a possibility for other people to come down who don't have significant resources. That's a plan and a project that I have in the future, especially in our Santa Cruz property that we're hoping to acquire. When we have that ready, it will be a tremendous benefit for people of all walks of life to be able to get out of Dodge. Right now, we're focusing on those who can more easily do that. What I called in a recent blog entry the categories, really category 2, probably more like 3 and 4, and of course 5 of the people with their certain kinds of resources or levels of resources. All right, well, today's show is going to focus on a number of different items about Chile, interesting things that have come up here, and things that you need to know about as a potential immigrant. One of them has to do with, well, let me throw out with a lighter one. I went down to I do research on fires. And why do you do research? Well, a lot of my research is on how well regulation succeeds, that is state regulation, with reducing what economists call negative externalities, or external effects that affect other people adversely, and that weren't intentional. And I focus on the fire externality, or the problem with building fires, because it's something that terrifies people all over the world. It's not like you just have tornadoes here or earthquakes there, hurricanes. Fire can affect everybody everywhere, and when it spreads fast, and when it hits you, you can lose literally everything that you ever have owned immediately, all your clothes, and well, you know what fire can do. And so I study fires, and in my publications, my international publications, there's a strong libertarian leaning, of course, since I am a libertarian. But my libertarianism does not guide my research. It just so happens that I pick a subject area that I enjoy to study, because it turns out that building inspectors don't really help anything except themselves and a few special interest groups. They don't make buildings safer. And you should be able to figure that out just by knowing, well, who benefits? Who benefits from fire? Well, firemen, people who write building codes, people that are in the insurance business that have actuarial tables that can sell more policies, people that make widgets or get things that can help fire safety. I mean, these people do not want fires to go away. They want fires, a certain level. Not too many fires, but once in a while they want a big one. They want people to be continually scared, just like any other crisis. It requires more need for government. Well, it's the same thing with building fires. And so I study them, and I publish stuff. I've been to a lot of different countries studying how well regulation is done to combat fires, and it doesn't do very well. In fact, more regulation usually means you have more fires. More building inspectors usually means you have more fires. Not making a cause and effect dogmatic conclusion there, but it's something that they have to answer for, the people that are statists that want to promote regulation. So I was down here. I have my research assistant, Diana, and I have been going over to the fire department in Valparaíso, which was the second fire department in all of North and South America, started in 1851. And it's interesting how they started up with ethnic groups. And you may think that's kind of strange. Why would that be? Well, remember, Valparaíso was the most important city in Chile in the 19th century. And why? Because there was no Panama Canal, and people came around the Horn, and they stopped and traded here a lot. It was a very wealthy city. Now it's a dump. Wouldn't recommend you go there at all for anything but the history lesson. But at any rate, at the time, it was a flourishing city, and as different people came from Europe, they settled there. At least they put their small colonies there they could do business with. And so that's exactly what we found in Valparaíso. Today, there's an Italian sector, there's a British sector, and the British have the biggest influence, a French sector, Yugoslavian, which is really Croatian sector, and others. And each of them started their own fire companies. And the fire companies that were established had to speak in their own language. In fact, to be a member of the fire department, everybody's a volunteer in Chile, has been ever since 1851, and still is today. You have to speak. They had to speak at that time the language of the Italians, or there was a Spanish one, of course, so that was easy, but English, and they still have their little logos in the original language name. And until 1973, all orders were given in that language, not Spanish. And I'm not sure if it was Allende or Pinochet, because that was the year of transition, that finally said, look, enough of this. You guys have to work together. All orders are going to be given in Spanish. So it's interesting. But what fascinates me more than anything is that before there was much regulation, imagine how people who had different ethnic backgrounds and certainly different languages were able to cooperate together to combat fires. And that's a tremendous thing. It's a tremendous laud for markets. And I think the Valparaíso study is going to end up showing, as the others, that regulation stinks. That's done by the state. Regulation by the market's great. And people can cooperate and do very well together. If you need consulting services of any kind, if you want to learn about the interesting history here, or find out a business, or things you need to do to get settled here, ChileConsulting.cl is a way. .cl is a way that you can go to, or you can also just check out EscapeAmericaNow.info. And you'll find there all the information you need and how you can employ us as consultants to help you out. You are listening to Red Hot Chili on the Overseas Radio Network, and we'll be right back after this message.